14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
Episode 30 already. Is that right, Matt Rupar?
That's right.
The big 3-0. It feels like, wow, mid-November is when we started the show. And here we go, episode 30 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, and Willimantic Today. Facebook, brought to you by Liberty Bank. Couldn't do this without Liberty Bank. Be community kind with 3 great local locations. West Main Street, Willimantic, down at Gateway Commons, across the street from the radio station. It's like the point. Every time I bring up Liberty Bank, I got a point. Like people, West Main Street, if you're, we're here at 720 Main Street, so I'm pointing towards West Main Street. And of course, across the street, 679 Main Street, Willimantic, and Route 195 in Mansfield. Liberty Bank, be community kind. Here we go. Couldn't ask for a better time to bring this guy in for Hometown Threads, not only for episode 30, but it's summertime, baseball season. He's wearing the shirt, Willimantic Post-19 American Legion. Kenny V, Keith C. Ken Valyer's with us.
Well, it's great to be here, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you in here. And this is, you were just telling me, let's talk right off the bat here, a little American Legion. The tournament starts this Friday, right?
Yep, the tournament starts this Friday. We had a 14-3 regular season. So we're going to be home Friday night down at Rec Park. Hopefully get some people out there to support us. And we're getting the winner between RCP and Enfield. So that's the first round, double elimination.
RCP is who again?
Rocky Hill, Cromwell, Portland.
Okay, now you're also telling me they've kind of set up the tournament. It's kind of a different format this year?
Yeah, I mean, back when we played, you had to win your zone to make the tournament.
That's right.
Then they went to these little pods where they put 14 pods in it. This year, believe it or not, there's only 33 19 and under Legion baseball teams in the state of Connecticut left. There was 80-something about 15 years ago. So now they're down 33, and 24 make the tournament. So they divided into 2 8-team double elimination brackets, and we're the 3 seed in the northern bracket. So we're excited. We've had a good season.
You said you're 14-3 in the zone?
14-3 in the zone. Waterford was 15-2, so they beat us out for first place in the zone, but we were second place in Zone 6.
Okay, it was Zone 6, because back in the day it used to be Zone 9, right?
Yep,
okay.
It was Zone 9. There were only 4 zones this year in the state of Connecticut.
Wow.
So there used to be 8, so they're down to 4, but... Yeah, it was water in our zone. It was Waterford, us, Norwich, Danielson, Moose Up, and Tri-Town, which is about Putnam, up around the Putnam area.
Now, how many years have you been head baseball coach for Willimantic Post-19?
Well, I did it from 92 to 99, and then I was off from it and I've been doing it now. I took over the 17U. We had a 17, like a junior Legion team, maybe 6 years ago, 6 or 7, and I've been with the Senior Legion now for, I think this is the fourth or fifth year back with the seniors. So
I got to be honest, as long as I've known Ken Valyer, and he's a big name in our community, he's played on championship teams, he's coached championship teams. I actually had to Google this guy last night, just to, because I'm thinking I got to keep track of where he's been. As I said, he's been a coach, a player. You just mentioned you bounced around coaching American Legion. Let's just start from the top like you do with all my guests. You grew up, like myself, in this community. St. Mary St. Joseph School?
No, I taught at St. Mary St. Joseph School for 22 years. My father went to St. Mary St. Joseph School, but none of us, me, my brother, and sister, all went to the Windham Public Schools.
Right.
But yeah, I've been born and bred in Windham, Willimantic. We grew up in North Windham. You know, we played actually WYO Little League baseball back in the day. We didn't play Willimantic, but my sons played Willimantic Little League, and yeah, we've been here our whole lives and love this community, and you know, fight tooth and nail for anything for Willimantic. I'll tell you, that's just the way we are.
I knew there was some SMSJ connection there because I had moved away for a bunch of years, and I think I remember my parents telling me that you were my brother's gym teacher, I think.
I was.
At St. Mary St. Joseph.
Yep, I was.
So speaking of WYO, I'm going to bounce around here. So, we only have 25 minutes, and Ken Valyer we could be here all day with. But whatever happened to WYO? I know Willimantic. I grew up with Willimantic Little League too. But did WYO just dissolve one day, or?
Yeah, I mean WYO. I don't know. It was only a few years ago. My kids played in WYO, and then the last year, of their little league, my Jack and Nick, they played in Willimantic because there was no more WIO. So yeah, it just kind of dissolved. It's too bad because I mean it was a thriving league. They had softball, they had t-ball, they had little league, and from what I hear now, even this year, Willimantic Little League, they had one 9 and 10-year-old team and one 11 and 12-year-old team, which is a little alarming when you're such a big baseball town and everything else that we've been over the years.
Absolutely, we definitely are, and you're right. And hats off to Ryan Garvey and the crew over at the Willimantic Little League. They do a great job, but it seems like and I know you and I are not that far apart in age, but we are a baseball town, but it's. I don't know what it is. It's like, are we seeing less kids less interested in baseball these days? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know. We talk about that all the time. I talk with our coaches and people around town about the limited number of kids playing
video
these days.
games, right? Is it
And
video
I think,
games?
Yeah, I don't know. It's the phones and baseball. If you want to be good at it, I mean, I always say it's an individual sport where you're up at the plate, you're by yourself, and if you're not good at it, it shows. Whereas, soccer and some of these other sports, hey, you can kind of blend in a little bit, running up and down the field. And I don't know. Kids just don't put the time in. And if you don't put the time in baseball, unfortunately, you're not going to probably be that great at it. So I think there's just less kids that want to put the time in and get good at it.
I think you said it earlier, too, and I agree with you. Phone's probably a major part of that, and it's just a generation these days.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
All right, so you grew up in the Wyndham school system. You went, when did you first, what was the first sport you played, or take us a little through that.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up in Willimantic and Wyndham and started in what they called Farm League back in the day, Farm Team. I remember we used to play
Farm League, right?
behind the old Kendall factory over there. Now it's... oh God, what is it now? Over next to United Abrasives.
Yes,
United Abrasives. It used to be called Kendall. Yeah, they had a little field with some cutout bases. I remember a guy by the name of Butch Rogers, Mr. Rogers. He was a hell of a guy. He was my first ever coach. And we did that. The coaches pitched them in, and then went to Little League and right on up through Wyndham High School and then over to Eastern.
Mr. Rogers went on to have a great TV show.
Yeah, he did.
So now you Wyndham High School, obviously.
Yep.
You were a standout there because we'll get to your days with Holowati and ECSU, of course, the 1990 National Championship Team Division III, and I got plenty of questions about that, and I'm sure you got stories. So take us through your Wyndham High years. Freshman year, you got right into it. Was it baseball? Was it just baseball? Did you do basketball as well? Did you do basketball?
Yeah, I did basketball and baseball. My freshman year in baseball back then, I'll tell you, it was hard to be on the varsity team. I mean, I think I got one at bat in the state tournament against Platt at Wyndham my freshman year. I played on the JV team most of the year. Starting my sophomore year, I played right field, steady right field. We ended up going to the state quarterfinals. And then my junior and senior year, we had Paul Noheimer took over. My first 2 years, Vic Allures was the coach.
I remember Coach Noheimer.
Vic Allures was a heck of a guy. We still, when I see him, I love seeing him around the community. And Paul Noheimer too, what a hell of a competitor.
Yeah.
And so we were fortunate to have him take over our team, and he was coaching the Legion team as well.
That's
so
right.
He did a heck of a job with us.
Now name some of the kids throughout those Wyndham years, those solid teams you had there. Name some of the kids you played with.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my junior year, we went to the state quarterfinals or semifinals down at Dodge Stadium. We got beat. And we had some great teams. We had a guy by the name of Mickey Olmo was our center fielder and a pitcher, was a hell of a player. The Elliott brothers, Mark and Mike Elliott. God, it goes on and on. Billy Hall was our catcher. We had a kid by the name of Jose Morales, was a hell of a catcher for us, even in the summertime. So yeah, we had some great players with the high school team, and it was. And then the Legion team was mostly all Wyndham High School kids.
That's right, you went on to Legion as well.
It really was. And this year, my son Jack is the only Wyndham person on the Willimantic Legion team.
How about that?
Yep. So how times change.
You got that right. So name some of the surrounding towns that you coach.
Yeah, so we get them from Mansfield, the O. Smith kids. Coventry's a big one for us now, and they've had some great teams over the last few years. Coach Brian Giberson over there does a heck of a job with them. They went to the state finals again this year. So we got some kids from that team, which is great. Because if we didn't get those guys, the team would most likely dissolve.
What year, how far back did they start bringing these kids from surrounding towns?
Well, even back when we played, we could always get the
that's right,
Mansfield
yeah.
kids, and we had a couple Coventry kids, but the majority were Wyndham kids. You know, we were mostly Wyndham, and we'd pick up I remember we picked up a Brian Spesiowski, who had a hell of a career, played for UConn and in Team USA juniors,
That's
and
right.
he had a heck of a career. So he was a Mansfield kid. We had a couple Coventry kids. A kid by the name of Rhett Gibbs was a pitcher for us and a catcher. So we had some good kids back then too, but lately we've been really relying on them to make the team.
Were you a coach of for Post 19? And now I know you were coming off the ECSU National Championship 1990, but from what I remember, I used to hang out with some of these Legion guys back in the year I graduated high school, which is 90. So the Pekarovics, the Buskies, the Bennetts. Were you a coach of that team?
I just missed the Pekarovics and Buskies and Bennetts. I picked it back up again in 92.
Okay,
So 92.
Because the reason why I hung out with those guys, they were my age, and I was doing the PA. I was doing the public address announcing for that team.
Yep.
And they had some good teams. A good friend of mine, Jim Mello,
Oh, yep.
was on that team. Good pitcher there. Roy Ricks.
He comments, Jimmy Mello, a lot on our Facebook page that we have for Willimantic Legion.
Yeah, Jimmy,
Yep.
and who's now Jim's living in Ohio these days, and we still communicate frequently. Mike Bahouty, who I still talk to,
Yep.
lives in Virginia Beach. But anyway, yeah, a lot of these. That was around the time period I hung out with. A couple summers, I think it was like 90, 91. But you came back to coach them in 92.
Yeah, we had, in 92 was like, I remember, we had some good teams. A kid by the name of Alan Bundy was from E.O. Smith. He ended up pitching for UConn.
Wow.
Then we had the local guys, the Dunnick, Jeremiah Dunnick, Isaac Oakes, George Abante, Billy Mills, the Bush brothers, Jesse and Ethan, the twins.
A lot of.
So
you're right. These Willimantic
Yep,
kids.
they were all local guys.
Huge baseball town.
Yep. So we had a kid who was a two-time zone MVP from Wyndham Tech, believe it or not. Timmy Hoyt, his name was. He was
Yeah,
a Chaplain
I remember
kid.
him.
He was a hell of a player. So we had some good teams.
As much as I hung out with some of these kids too, and it was so, as we've been mentioning, they're so competitive throughout the years, and become friends with some of these guys. The only way I could keep up with some of these guys is in the backyard playing wiffle ball.
Yeah.
Because there's no way. I mean, I'd watch these guys play, and I grew up playing baseball myself, and I just probably wasn't gifted with the skills to go out and like some of my,
And I think the biggest difference is maybe would say, hey, what's the difference between coaching the kids now than it was coaching maybe in the early 90s? The passion, and not that our kids aren't passionate today, but back then we played Legion baseball, and then, oh, by the way, I have a job too. Oh, by the way, I have a girlfriend. Oh, by the way, my family had a picnic last weekend. Now, sometimes it's, I got to go to a picnic tomorrow. And, oh, by the way, I play Legion baseball. So it kind of, that's changed a little bit. And
the priorities.
That eats at me a little just because I know how it always was.
Legion baseball would come first.
Yeah, that was it. Really. And,
Yeah, it did.
And with Coach Riz, if you didn't have Coach Legion baseball come first, guess what? You wouldn't be on the team.
Now
That
let's
was
get
it.
into the God rest his soul, John Risley and Bill Holowati. You still hanging in there? Let's get into the ECSU days now, because I'm sure you got stories there. 1990, that national championship team. Let me see. You were a junior.
I was a junior.
Okay,
Yep.
junior.
Yep.
Do you want to go back further? Tell us about your freshman, sophomore year, or do you want to get right into that 1990 national championship year? Because you were a big part of that team as well.
Each year of my 4 years at Eastern, we got to the regional championship game. Unfortunately, my freshman and sophomore years, I played right field. If we would have won the regionals, the World Series was in Bristol at Muzzy Field, and we never made it.
Wow.
The year after it left Bristol and went to Battle Creek, Michigan, we won the regional, and we went to Michigan. That's when we won the World Series. But after my sophomore year, I played right field the first 2 years, and Holowati came to me, and we had lost our first baseman, Jeff Johnson, who was a good player, and we didn't have a first baseman. He says, hey, what do you think about playing first base? I said, hey, I'd love to give it a shot. And it just took off from there. I, worked my tail off to improve, and, I got good at it. And my senior year, I got the Gold Glove Award at Eastern for the first base, so that was exciting.
Ken Valyer's with us, head baseball coach for Post 19 Willimantic American Legion, here for Hometown Threads, episode 30, brought to you by Liberty Bank. Be community kind on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM. I want to back up with Holowati, and we'll go back to Eastern in just a second, but I meant to ask this earlier. In your high school years, and Holowati being from the area, obviously coaching in Eastern and just, living around here, I think he lived in Columbia. I don't know if he's still living around here.
Yeah, I think he
now.
does,
Okay.
yep.
He must have been, going to a lot of Wyndham games, so he was scouting you left and right?
Yeah, I went up with Coach Baylock up at UConn, who was recruiting me at the time. He wanted me to be a pitcher. And
really,
I don't know. I just didn't know if I could be a Division I pitcher. To be honest with you,
Coach Baylock was, or it's Baylock.
Yep, Baylock.
Former basketball player, Mookie Blaylock.
Yep.
Coach Baylock, who I see at St. Joseph's Church frequently.
Yeah, another great man.
He was scouting you too.
Yeah, so I went up there, visited the school, and he thought I could be a pitcher for him. And I don't know. I didn't want to know if I wanted to just be a pitcher, and I didn't know if I could pitch at that level. To be honest with you. And then watching Eastern over all the years, battling New Haven with Porky Vieira back in the day.
Right.
So I was interested in New Haven a little bit. So I had gone down there and visited New Haven.
So you had Eastern, UNH.
So Holowati kind of joined the party a little bit down the stretch.
So Holowati was late.
Yeah,
you had New Haven and UConn knocking on your door, and Holowati hadn't even entered yet.
Yep. And then, I didn't want to really go far from home, and I knew Eastern had the great program and everything else, and there was a lot of Wyndham players who preceded me at Eastern over the previous, 7 or 8 years. So I made the decision to go there, and I'm glad I did. It was a great 4 years.
What was it like playing for Bill Holowati? And I know I've met Coach Holowati. I haven't seen him in years, but you're a great coach. You probably learned a lot from him. I mean, what was it like playing for him?
Yeah, I mean, my experiences with coaches, like I said, Paul Noheimer was a hell of a competitor back in high school days. John Risley, off the charts. I mean, I love Riz so much. I miss him every day. Spent a lot of time with him down the stretch of his life there before he passed. But he was just, taught us the right way and taught us a lot more than how to throw a ball and how to bunt a ball and how to hit a ball and everything else. And it continued. So those guys prepared me. Holowati was a tough son of a gun. He didn't put up with any crap. He wanted you to toe the line. He wanted you to work hard.
Wow.
He had high expectations. But having Riz and having Noheimer kind of prepared me for that. So me and like a Brian Mercado, who played with me up at Eastern, who had Jimmy O'Neill and Gil Vargas down in New London. Holowati didn't, so that stuff didn't really faze us that much because we had kind of gone through it with those guys. So it was kind of just like another coach for us. But it was a heck of a competitor.
Not that you never had a connection with Coach Holowati, I'm sure you have, but it sounds like Riz and Noheimer were more of the. Did they kind of have to calm down Holowati at times? Because I know, as you said, I've heard the same thing. He can be a little, in your face, but he demands the best out of his players, which is understandable.
Yep.
But after your years at Eastern, and all the successful years you had there at ECSU, did you stay in touch with Coach Holowati?
Yeah, I work up at Wyndham Hospital now, and his wife volunteers every Friday at the hospital, so I see her. Sometimes he comes, I have lunch with her, so I see him here and there. Yes, so I do. I don't keep in touch with him often, but I do bump into him and see him here and there. So so we still do have a relationship when I see him.
What was it like? Let's go back to that 1990 national championship year. And how far did you go again in '91?
91 again. We lost in the regional finals to Southern Maine.
So 90 was the national championship year. A loaded team. That must have been great. Tell us a little about
it was something. It really was. I think that year we went to Florida. And they have what they call a snowbird tournament because all the teams from the north come down and play in a little tournament. And we beat Florida Atlantic. We beat some good teams down there and won that little snowbird tournament. So we had some high expectations that year. After the year before losing again in the regional finals, didn't make the World Series. So and then when we got back from Florida, we lost 3 out of 4. 1 up in St. Joseph's, Maine, and 2 to Southern Maine, right when we got back. And then after those 3 losses, we didn't lose another game the whole entire year. We ended up 40-6 was our final record.
Kind of like what they did last year, because I think they had a couple of losses early on, and then I just drew a blank. The guy who went to Yale, Coach Ham, right?
Yes, yep, right.
They finished almost. Well, you guys sound like you guys had a better record, but he was like 35-9 or whatever.
I forget what their final.
But he went on
record
to
was.
Yale, and I don't think he did that well. Right? I don't think he did that well.
I don't know what they did this year.
But anyway, that was
incredible. I mean, it was out in Michigan, Battle Creek, Michigan. Not huge crowds like you see in Omaha or anything like that, but exciting. All our parents, all
Sure,
the families went, and it was exciting. It was so exciting.
Home of Kellogg's cereal, I think.
Yeah,
right?
it is. You're right. That was the big sponsor. We stayed at the Stouffer's Hotel, and Kellogg's Company was the big sponsor.
That's right. I remember Wayne.
Yep,
I remember being a senior in high school, getting ready to graduate, and of course WILI carried the games, and I
Yep.
remember listening to Wayne as I'm studying for finals and rooting on ECSU, and
Yeah, it was exciting times.
I know. But, Ken and I could talk about baseball, Red Sox, Eastern, Wyndham, American Legion. But there is life outside of baseball, and unfortunately. And you've been working at Wyndham Hospital for, 6 years, you said?
Yeah. Like I said, I was a teacher at St. Mary St. Joseph School before it closed there for 22 years. And and then I was over at Natchog Hospital, and then I switched over to Wyndham. I'm a public safety officer over there at Wyndham Hospital for about the past 5 or 6 years now.
Excellent, yeah.
So I enjoy it.
I saw you a couple times when I came in to get my shot. You kind of put me to the front of the line. Thank you.
There you go.
I shouldn't say that. No, I'm kidding. Ken does a great job up there, and of course, excellent job coaching the American Legion team. I'm going to try and get down there Friday night. Again, Rec Park, they kick off the state tournament. And tell us about the family now. Jack's your son, and Riley's your daughter.
Yep,
and
my wife Julie. My wife Julie. Yep, and Riley's our oldest. She's in her third year of college. Actually, she was at University of Hartford. She's transferred to Eastern, so she's going to be going to Eastern this fall. But she was off the charts at Hartford, President's List, and this and that.
Sports.
So.
Sports?
The funny thing is, she was a soccer player at Wyndham. They had a great career at Wyndham in soccer. Got to Hartford, they switched from Division I to Division III athletics. So her roommate was a lacrosse player.
Okay.
So she was kicking around with the lacrosse. She wasn't planning on playing any sports at Hartford. And the coach, when they switched, they lost some players because some of the Division I players went to other schools because no more Division I. So long story short, the coach asked her if she wanted to join the lacrosse team. She ended up on the lacrosse team playing, and she actually played some games. Yeah, she actually got in there.
Oh, that's great.
And she did fine, so it's kind of a funny story. And then Jack and Nick. Jack just graduated from Wyndham and is on our Legion team. He's our catcher. So hopefully, he can do some big things. He's had a great career in baseball since he was in Little League and everything else. He's been, I call him a throwback because he's the kid who is, at midnight when I'm going to bed, I hear his balls hitting off the tee in the other side of the basement. Wake up in the morning, getting ready for work at 5 a.m. I hear him hitting down in the basement. So he was a self-made player. It wasn't that Dad, can you come throw me some balls? And I always would, but it wasn't me pushing him. He was the one who was pushing himself. So he made himself into a heck of a player.
Now you got some news about Jack. Do you mind sharing it?
Oh yeah, Jack was gonna go to Rhode Island College. They recruited him to play baseball. And he made a decision on his own that he wanted to join the local 35 union of electricians, it's called. So he applied to the program, got accepted, had an interview, got accepted, passed the exam with flying colors. So he's going to be starting out on the job as an electrician, like an apprentice. And then they'll put him through school, and within the 4 years, he'll have his electrician's license. So, yeah, he's always been a hard worker and everything else, so it didn't surprise me, but I think, always a part of me wants to see him play another game.
So is it safe to say he kind of threw a curveball at Dad?
A little bit. But
And Mom.
hey, we support him in anything he
That's
does,
great.
my wife and I, so we're proud of all our kids.
Yeah.
My son Nick, always was a little in Jack's shadow on the baseball field and has found his niche with the wrestling team with Pat Risley up there. He was in their
great.
lineup as a wrestler this past year. He'll be a junior next year, and also he's on the golf team. And he's I'll tell you, I've taken him to
on
the
the golf
driving
team,
range
too.
a few times, and the way he's been hitting the ball I was like very pleasantly surprised at how
Really?
he hits the ball.
Great.
Yeah, heck of a lot
Now,
better
wait,
than
how old
I
is Jack? Is he Nick your youngest?
Yep, Nick's
Okay.
my youngest. He's going to be 16 in August, so he'll be a junior next year at Wyndham.
Wow.
So, yeah, so he's found his niche too with the golfing and the wrestling. So,
That's
yeah,
great.
so all of them are, I can't be more proud of them as good kids. Sometimes you always say as a parent, God, my kid, I'm mad at my kid because he did this at ourselves. But when other people tell you got great kids, then it means a lot because that means they're respectful and everything out in the community, and everybody says we got great kids. So
It says a lot about
I'm
you.
proud of that.
A lot about you and your wife, too.
Yeah, we're
so.
very proud of them.
Yeah. So as we do, let's get ready to wrap things up with our guests here. I always give my guest here on Hometown Threads. The opportunity to throw out any closing words, any closing thoughts?
Well, like I said earlier, I'm always excited to come in here, whether it's with you a couple times or Wayno.
Have you been on Wayno's show?
I've been on Wayno's. I got a couple times with the.
That's good.
After the state championships in
All right.
basketball, he had us on, and we marched with him in the parade that year. Right,
That's
in the front
right. He
with
told
the
us.
basketball team.
I'm glad you brought that up. 2011. Right?
Yep. Yep.
The Wyndham. That's right. He
Yep,
coached the
we
Wyndham
let
Girls
off the
State
boombox.
Championship team. Wayno, and he was right at the front of the parade with Wayno and the
Yep.
girls. That's great.
Yeah, that was exciting, and so anytime I get to come in here, it's a great, fun experience, and it's a great promotion of whatever we're talking about. And I really thank you and appreciate you guys having me in here to talk about everything we talked about. And like you said, we could sit here for days, probably
Yeah.
keep talking.
We haven't even got to the Red Sox. We'll get to that'll be when the mics and the cameras are off. We'll talk a little about the Red Sox. But pleasure to have you in here. And one more time, plug American Legion for Friday night.
Yeah, so Friday night is the first round of the state tournament. Double elimination. We'll be at Rec Park. Right now, it's a 5:30 start. However, after Wednesday, RCP is playing Enfield. We get the winner of that game. I'm going to reach out to those coaches to see if they might like to play at 7 o'clock. It has to be mutually agreed upon. So right now, it's on the schedule at 5:30 at Rec. If it changes, it'll be out there. We'll put it on Facebook and everything, try to promote the time. But as of right now, 5:30 down at Rec, first round. Hopefully we can make it happen.
I know you email Wayno too with the score, so get in touch with him as far as that. You can text me. I'll get it on I-98, and of course we'll. Dad just the other day says, find out when Legion's playing.
Awesome.
So Friday night.
More the merrier down here. It's awesome.
Coach.
Thanks, Keith.
Ken Valier in here for episode 30, Hometown Threads on 14 WILI, 95.3 FM, and Willimantic Today Facebook. Brought to you by Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Again, thanks to Ken Valier. And in the words of the great Roddy McCumber,
bye for now, folks. Bye for now.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.